Last time on the Cellcast.
The animated series.
Mm-hmm. We are pack-led. We are honest traders.
Yeah.
We are going to destroy you, Enterprise. We're not the Enterprise. Oh no, there's a second Enterprise.
It's like, yeah, all you see is space debris.
Yes.
And
referencing, I personally think, the destruction of Alderaan in Star Wars: A New Hope. Like, no. You forgot what this is. We need to use someone who's incredibly smart, but has absolutely no conscience for the betterment of his fellow people. I don't remember the exact thing.
Something like that.
And then you see him, Rutherford, go into the holodeck. It's like, oh no, Badgie is back. I know. I'll upload it into my memory. I'm thinking, A, don't.
Yeah, don't
B,
do that, bro.
Don't. C, don't. D, you're going to pretend to be Data, aren't you? Crap. And he goes and it starts going to... It's like, wait a minute, it's slowing to a crawl at 97%. Why is that? And then Badgie's hologram shows up and says, it won't finish until you're dead. That's, why are you doing this, Badgie? Because you killed me, father. You snapped my neck. And then you get the arrival of the Titan.
It's like,
and it's not just the arrival of the Titan, which is cool. No, you get played in full the TNG movie version of the Next Generation theme song, played as if it's a hero's arrival,
and it is.
And it is. It's like, this is stinking awesome. I've never heard this theme song played like this.
Ray, wrong. Okay. This progress is a part of Christian Reek Central Network. And Reek wrong.
Hey, Scoob, what are you doing, man? I don't know. I'm supposed to be reading an ad. All right, hold on. Give me it. Okay. All right. This podcast is part of the Christian Geek Central Network at ChristianGeekCentral.com. Welcome to the Cellcast,
the animated series.
Joining me today is a man who just had to wear an ascot after coming out of an animated series. Welcome, Drew.
Well, doesn't it make me look better?
Maybe.
Why, thank you. And joining me today is a man who, he just wanted a television. That's all he wanted. Welcome, Jacob.
It was free. Why not? And she was a
Fair
pretty
enough.
Girl anyway. Come on, man.
Fair enough.
I got to pay for my man cave. Come on.
What I still would love to know is how they got that TV in the back of that Camaro.
It's called TV magic.
I don't care. It's called physics.
Well, they definitely could have put it in the trunk.
I mean, maybe later when you get into Scooby-Doo land, you could have made that work. But they weren't there yet.
All right. How are you doing? How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good, Jacob. How are you doing?
Man, I am doing Scooby-tastic.
So why don't you tell us what we're reviewing today?
All right, guys. Hey, we are doing something very unique. We're doing a one-shot right now. Both me and Drew have just watched Scoobynatural, which is part of the Supernatural TV series from the CW.
Mm-hmm.
This is from season 13, episode 9, hint called Scoobynatural.
Indeed. I have never watched a single episode of Supernatural before this point. So, yeah, I'm coming into this about as blind as a bat.
Well, I've watched several episodes of Supernatural, and obviously I love Scooby-Doo because, hey, I can do Scooby-Doo voices, so why not?
Yeah.
And so I thought this was a perfect kind of in-between. We just finished the season finale, or series finale. Season finale of
Star Trek Lower Decks.
Yes, thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Sorry.
You're good. So that was fantastic. Go check out that episode. That was a really good episode.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's on CBS All Access, so go check it out.
Yeah.
So we are doing this in-between episode, and I thought it'd be very fitting. And then we're going to get into our next series, which we'll reveal at the very end of the episode.
Well, it is very fitting considering if I've figured this up right, this episode will come out the week of Halloween.
Yes.
So it fits perfectly.
Yeah. It does. I mean, like, it's got that, it's got the spooky and the supernatural. And it's Scooby-Doo. So, yeah. It's the best of both worlds.
Indeed.
All right.
Trivia?
Trivia. Thank you. All right. So let's get into a little trivia, shall we?
And perhaps the synopsis of the thing
there we go.
with
Thank
the
you,
writer
'cause I'm not
and the
used to taking
director.
pilot control. All right. So let's get into the synopsis. So Dean, Sam, and Cassia are transported to the animated world of Scooby-Doo, where they join forces with the Scooby Gang to solve a ghostly mystery, which turns out to be a real ghost.
Well, yeah, that's the entire point of Supernatural from what I gather.
Yes, it is. All right, so let's get into a little trivia.
Well, who wrote and directed this thing?
Oh, yeah, of course. Thank you. All right, so the episode originally aired March 29th, 2018. It was written by Jeremy Adams and Jim Kegel, directed by Robert Singer. So this is the first episode where Supernatural crosses over with another series. This episode where Dean, Sam, Cassia are transported into a night of fright is No Delight from the Scooby-Doo episode Where Are You series.
Which I went back and watched because I was... The thing is, this is not the first time I've watched something where one show crossed over with a specific episode of another show. Because, bring Star Trek back into this. There was an episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine called Trials and Tribulations that went back to the original series episode, The Trouble with Tribbles. Kind of the same thing, except they did not have to fully remake all of the other scenes of the old episode.
That makes sense.
Like they had to here. And I was just curious how they matched up.
Yeah.
Turns out, loosely.
Yeah, very loosely.
Very loosely.
Yeah, it's very loosely based, very loosely based on the first episode of Scooby-Doo. Where Are You?
Like maybe 5 minutes of total time of the Scooby-Doo episode is actually reflected exactly with this. And it's not even in the art style. It's the fact that you've got Cousin Simple, Cousin Normal, Nephew Normal, Sweet Cousin Maldehyde, and Cousin Sleazy?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Something like that.
And they and Scooby-Doo are there because they all are there to pick up a inheritance if they spend the night in this house.
Yeah.
And Scooby-Doo got it because it was remembered in the will simply because he saved the general the colonel.
Colonel.
He saved Colonel Sanders from dying in a lake or something like that.
In a pond.
In a pond. That's the entire reason they're even there. Of course, in the original episode, sorry, not to jump on your parade, they're actually on an island in the middle of what I'm assuming is a bayou.
I would presume so.
Because in this episode, they are literally in the Scooby-Doo house from the opening sequence.
Yes.
The monster in this, the design of the monster is stays in its full ghost form and does not use the shadow form that is present for over half of the original Scooby-Doo episode. And the Fred's trap at the end does technically include bubbles and a washing machine at the end. Mm-hmm. And it's a washing machine of the same design, granted. So at least there's that. But at the same time, the Scoobynatural did not involve the washing machine somehow taking off and flying all around the island. Because Scooby put it in reverse. The fan in reverse. Because there's not a fan in this. Also, you don't get to see the Confederate flags down in the cave underneath the mansion either.
Oh, okay.
Where they end up at one point.
Oh, okay.
But I will say, not to jump too far into this.
You're good.
art style wise, I mean, they had to reanimate a large portion of this, even though I would have loved to have seen it still be the 60s era cheaply made animation.
Yeah.
That would have been a nice touch. And we do get at least a little bit of that with the dancing loop at the very beginning when they first go into the diner. So we do at least get some of that. But for the most part, this is a very modern look of Scooby-Doo. In fact, the only way I can rationalize this in my mind is they didn't go back to the Scooby-Doo Where Are You episode. They went to a unmade remake of that Scooby-Doo episode where they kept most of it but changed it to better fit some censor setting on Cartoon Network. I'm assuming Cartoon Network. So that they don't have to show, Confederate stuff.
That could
Just
be.
one little thing is like, oh, it's all the money is worthless because it's all Confederate money. It's like that doesn't even make sense in the 1960s. But anyway,
that is true. But so getting a little more trivia, when Sam burns the pocket knife and puts the ghost kid to rest, he disappears in a combination of the usual way and the peaceful manner seen when spirits are convinced to move on, or rather than a assault or burn happening. The boy goes from flames, but the flames change into a ball of light and rises upwards.
okay.
All right. So during the hallway scene, I didn't even catch this.
Oh yes,
Yeah, during the
the
hallway.
classic Scooby-Doo.
Oh yeah,
gag.
yeah. But did you see a certain character?
Yes, I saw Scrappy Doo.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even see it.
In fact, I'm watching it and going, wait a minute, back up. Did I just see what I saw?
Yep, you saw Scrappy Doo.
Yep, there's Scrappy Doo, and it's not the modern design of Scrappy Doo. It's an updated version of the original Scooby Doo design, or Scrappy Doo design.
All right, so also going into a little more supernatural, the Winchesters, which is the brothers' names,
Sam and Dean.
Sam and Dean, yep, mentioned their belief that Gabriel is dead, calling him the Trickster. This is the name he was known by them until season 5, episode Changing Channels.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just assumed Loki showed up when they were saying that. So,
No, not quite.
and how many times Loki has died,
Yeah, that's true.
both in Marvel and in the mythology.
Well, also in Supernatural, I'll be like, most of these characters have died and come back to life multiple times.
Right.
All right, so apparently on the Supernatural Season 13 DVD featurette, a deleted scene in the episode where a disgusted Castiel, Shaggy, and Scooby serve a ghost dinner, ending with Castiel sprinkling the ghost with salt. A ghost weakness, it becomes enraged, forcing them to drop their disgust and flee. Shaggy says, "You've got me. Who's got you?" And a line is lifted directly from Superman 1978, followed by Castiel adopting the iconic Christopher Reeve's flight pose. Yeah.
That would have been awkward.
Yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, that's all I got in trivia.
So one thing I thought was interesting is that while the story is mostly lifted from an episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Yeah.
The plot line feels like it's pulled more from the general flow of an episode of the new Scooby-Doo movies. Because you have a special guests that affect that are celebrities and affect and change how the show would normally go because you've got them there.
Right.
You do have a music video segment about 3/4 of the way through the
and it's the
episode.
original theme.
It is the original thing, which I appreciate, even though I think some of the montage there didn't work. But I mean, you go back to the original episode, they were not doing stuff like that
No.
in that time. They did not. I don't think they started that till the new Scooby-Doo movies.
Yeah.
But anyway, and they really got into it with Pup Named Scooby-Doo. But that's all beside the point.
Yeah. The one thing when I heard about this episode, because I wasn't watching per se Supernatural, but I had a lot of friends and family who were just like, dude, Supernatural's the best thing ever. And so I heard about it and I watched all the trailers, and so I finally got around to actually downloading the episode. And tell you what, I was giggling my head off. I didn't know who Cassiel was. Cassiel is actually, he's an angel. He's a fallen angel who apparently now is a Seraphim? Seraphim, thank you. And he kind of helps Dean and Sam out every once in a while, or primarily a lot. So there was a lot of references that I didn't, go into, but they do have a lot more references to Supernatural, which that information I'm not privy to.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the fact that you have Dean and Sam, and then eventually Cassiel are pulled into the world of Scooby-Doo, and so they make it their mission to, as Dean says early on, be like, these guys are innocent. Be like, they don't need to know about the world of the supernatural, that they're real ghosts or what have you. But as the story progresses, we realize, oh, the ghosts are real, and this be like where you find in more traditional Scooby-Doo episodes where, oh, it's a guy in a mask, it's a real estate dealer,
it was a real estate dealer.
It was a real estate dealer at the very end.
Said the line at the end.
Yeah.
I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids.
He said it.
Is that it?
He said it. Oh gosh, just the great time when you see Dean trying to how do I say that?
I don't know.
Dean is constantly hitting on Velma. Daphne. Yeah.
Dean is always hitting on Daphne. I think it's Sam who keeps getting hit on by Velma.
That is true. That was a nice little turnaround.
Yes.
Because you never see Velma ever, she's all about science and proof and everything. You never be like, she's a jinkies all the time, but be like, she's not, romantically interested in anybody.
Right.
And so she finally gets the guy at the very end. It's like how Dean says at the very end, to be like, yeah, it's always the quiet ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed this episode. The fact to be like, we just reviewed Scoob not long ago.
Yes.
For the regular Cellcast. And I love it that in this episode we actually get more of a traditional Scooby. Be like, it's voiced by Frank Welker.
It's still Frank Welker, but he's not having to talk as much.
Yeah.
Which helps.
Yeah.
A lot. Don't get me wrong, Frank Welker is a great actor, but Scooby-Doo is not meant to have we talked about this in the episode.
Yeah.
But he's not meant to talk like a normal person talks.
Right.
And for whatever reason, during the filming of Scoob, his voice is about 3 or 4 notes higher than Scoob normally is.
Yeah.
And of course, the only reason Frank Welker is even having to do Scooby in this is because, or he would be he is the one doing it, is because Casey Kasem had passed long before this episode came out.
Well, Casey Kasem didn't do Scooby.
I thought Casey Kasem.
No, he did
Scooby.
Shaggy.
Matthew Lillard though was doing Shaggy.
Yeah, Matthew Lillard is doing Shaggy in this one.
Yeah, and Matthew Lillard was Shaggy in the original, wasn't he? Hang on.
I'll be like, you're referring to the TV show, right?
Yeah, Scooby-Doo, where are you?
No, he replaced it.
I'm looking this up.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm
No.
just saying I was under the impression Casey Kasem was Scooby and Matthew Lillard was Shaggy. I have been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again.
Yeah, Casey Kasem originally did Shaggy in the original series.
Matthew Lillard's the one in the live-action one.
Yes, and also he...
Never mind.
Yeah. Matthew Lillard also was.
He is the second. He is the better of the two, in my opinion, than Casey
okay.
Kasem.
I got you.
I know that's contradictory. Now that I've said that out loud, because that you realize I thought that was Matthew Lillard all the way back then. It's like,
no. Matthew Lillard is like.
Yeah, he's new. I forget this. He's new. Mm-hmm. He was hired for the live action movie, and he's continued it. Okay.
Yes.
More on that in 2 weeks or 1 week. The week that you're hearing this, I think. Anyway.
All right. Very interesting. You mentioned about Matthew Lillard. The fact be like. I was watching behind the scenes thing. They clipped like a bunch of things from like cons and what have you, and I'm probably gonna butcher his name to death, but Jared Padalecki.
Thank
you.
Think.
Yeah, it's Padalecki. Thank you.
Sam,
the guy who plays Sam.
You realize I know this because I listened to a episode of another podcast called Nobody's Listening.
Yeah.
From way back when this show was new.
Yeah.
And someone had told a story of them in middle school or high school having a crush on Jared Padalecki as Sam from Supernatural.
Ah, okay.
I go, I didn't realize the show went on this long. This episode I'm listening to is 10 years old. Anyway.
All right, so Jared Padalecki had originally went up for an audition to play Scooby in the original live-action movie, but lost out to
Don Messick.
Don Messick
is the original Scooby-Doo.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Just looked that up.
Okay, that totally makes sense.
Which once again explains why the mountain everything happens on is Messick Mountain. Moving on. In Scoob, I mean.
Yeah. But ultimately he lost out to Matthew Lillard, which Matthew Lillard killed it, and he's done Shaggy ever since, except for Scoob.
Well, yeah, but that's because everyone but Scooby-Doo they recast.
Yeah,
which they shouldn't have done.
I agree with you on that. It's just
they were doing stunt casting as always with animated movies, which can annoy me.
Yeah, agreed. Whew. Yeah, it was a fun episode. It was kind of a breath of fresh air to see the Scooby gang put into a situation they're not used to. They're like you said earlier, the fact that they were.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this on way back when we reviewed Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
Yeah, exactly.
The concept of the Scooby gang having to deal with real monsters existed for a long stinking time.
Agreed.
This is the only one I actually believed the responses.
Yes.
Because, you go back to Scooby-Doo, where are you? Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, at least, they were scared, but for the most part, it was still, they were still on the ball as the Scooby gang. Their world was not rocked that much.
Yeah, unlike in
by
this
the
movie.
realization that, the zombies and the cat women are real.
Yeah.
Because in a way, it was still a Scooby-Doo mystery.
Right.
This, while it is a Scooby-Doo mystery, they're having to deal with stuff that's like, oh my word, that is so not what we were expecting. Our world is completely rocked. And I love Fred. You mean all this time we've been going after real estate fraudsters when we could have been going after actual Dracula?
While he pounds it to the side of a tree. And
Velma is just like, everything I know is wrong. Science is fantasy. Fantasy is reality. No! That's not what she says, but that's essentially what's going on.
Oh, my God.
In her head.
Yeah.
Daphne still won't have anything to do with Dean.
No, she doesn't. She's completely clueless. She's like, and for a change, unlike in Scoob, she actually likes Fred, and Fred's not a jerk in this movie.
Yes. Fred actually acted like Fred.
Exactly.
I don't know what's so hard about this.
Yeah.
And everything past Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? After they reintroduced him. Because it seems like everything, admittedly, what I've watched is not everything.
Right.
Whatever I watched, it's like, we got to make Fred obviously he's got to be the love interest of Daphne. He's going to be a jock. So he's going to be stupid.
Yeah.
Because, of course, all jocks are stupid. I disagree with this, considering my friend here is a jock.
Okay.
Was a jock. You were on the football team. That counts.
Okay. I rode the bench most of the time. Thank you very much.
And I'm mostly messing with you.
I know.
Anyway, they make him stupid and make like in Scoob they make him fall in love with his car,
Yeah.
which is stupid. Or in the movie that we'll be talking about and at the end of this week when this comes out,
Yeah.
they just they give him to Freddie Prinze Jr., who does the worst role I think he's ever done. Which is saying which I mean, that's not saying a whole lot, but I like him in other stuff.
Right.
Anyway,
Ugh.
I think we've touched on nearly everybody.
I
I will say I appreciate that with the minor characters from this episode, they did, even though they did have to redesign them in order to fit the art style
Yeah.
they were going with for this, for the more modern art style, they at least kept the look of, and in many cases, the weird stiltedness of how they were placed in that scene originally.
Right.
With how they looked in the original episode. Especially Cousin Simple. Because Cousin Simple, let's face it, is a chimp.
Yeah.
Looks like a chimp in a man's clothing. And they very easily could have decided that something like that might be a little insensitive.
Right.
But for whatever reason, they kept the design for it. I don't feel it was insensitive myself. I can just see how other people would, because it's not the kind of design choice you would make nowadays.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm looking at these designs, and I'm still going, you go to this much trouble to have these characters, 5 characters that we see, 6 if you count Colonel Sanders,
Right.
match the original designs from the episode,
Right.
but modified to fit the art style. And you couldn't have put this on an island like it was supposed to originally was. I mean, I know they need an excuse to walk out to the Camaro and get all their tools.
Yeah.
Because that could not have happened in the way the original episode was set up unless they got on the boat and went all the way back to shore.
Yeah.
Which they could have done, but I mean,
It could have been connected by bridge.
It could be. It doesn't explain why in the original episode they went there by speedboat, but anyway. The original episode is a weird one anyway.
Yeah.
It's a good one, don't get me wrong. And I still have to ask why in that original episode, the 5 coffins, 4 of them are normal, and one of them, for the dog admittedly, is the goofy looking one.
What's Scooby?
I know it's Scooby, but they could have used a regular coffin and it would serve the same job. The fake Scooby coffin would have been more expensive and harder to make than the other coffins.
Too true.
But anyway, that's just me being pedantic.
So overall, what did you think about this episode?
I mean, it was an enjoyable episode. It was a nice throwback to this original style. And as a standalone episode, without having to know anything about, Supernatural, not having anything about Supernatural known before,
Right.
it explains the very base minimum it needs to explain to tell you what's going on. But without going overboard and going into all this other stuff. You never feel like you're lost, but you also don't feel like you've been a ton of information's being shoved at you.
Right.
So you can know what's going on, which they very easily could have done. Like I said, as a standalone, it works. I have no idea how it fits in context with the rest of the show. But, I mean, it was a fun, interesting thing. It would be an interesting thing to watch at Halloween.
Yeah.
I kind of wish it was on a separate thing so you could easily more find it.
True.
Than having to search through 15 seasons and then go to the middle of the season to find this one episode. But that's not this episode's fault. In fact, I was hoping it was either at the beginning or the end of a season, which would have made it easier to find. But no, it's right smack dab in the middle of the season.
Of course.
Because I guess they were just aiming for Halloween, and they had to put everything else around it. I did think it was one little interesting thing I noticed when they're showing the flashback to Castiel getting
sucked
into the TV.
Yeah.
Before that, he says he is coming back from the Tree of Life and says a couple other things. And when he gets sucked in, he drops the grocery bag
Mm-hmm.
that he's carrying. And did you see what was in the grocery bag?
Apples.
No. Pomegranates.
Oh, they were
They
pomegranates.
were pomegranates.
That's right.
Which is what generally most people think the
That's
the
right,
fruit-
yeah.
the fruit of the tree of life actually more closely resembles.
Thank you. Okay.
I just thought that was an interesting thing.
That was.
that I noticed.
That was very, very...
You know what? That is a detail you did not have to follow through with.
No, you didn't.
I still had no idea who Castiel was. I just thought he was a third guy that happened to show up all the time, and it was like that till he healed Shaggy. I thought maybe he knows more about this cartoon rules than I do. Also, how weird is it to see this era Scooby-Doo, even with an updated art style, with blood?
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, okay, they really went serious with it.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, that's all I've got. What do you think?
All right, man, I enjoyed the fire out of this show. It was so fun knowing a little bit about Supernatural. I've gotten through most of season 1, and it is hilariously good. Highly recommend it. Probably some of our listeners who are Supernatural fans. Oh, you forgot this and this and this and this. Well, if we forgot something, comment in the section down below on our Facebook or wherever.
Maybe we'll bring it up later.
Yeah, maybe we'll bring it up. Maybe. So just comment down below. I enjoyed the fire of it. There was just so many nuances and all these little tidbits of like how Scooby-Doo used to be with our modern cast and the modern animation, and putting our Scooby gang into a situation they're not used to, minus Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. This was a good episode. I loved it. It'd be like the fact that you had the Winchester brothers who do the exact same thing except with a real ghost. And this was a fun little crossover that I hope they do in the future at some point. I know Supernatural is ending, but it doesn't mean they can't do another episode or a TV special or what have you. That would just be
right.
fun.
I mean, other things that have lasted this long are still continuing to get TV specials.
Exactly.
I mean, Psych went for 9 seasons.
Yeah.
And they just recently put out a new movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's possible. I just can't imagine how expensive this episode was to make in comparison to all the others. Though I don't know how expensive the rest of the show looks, so.
Yeah. Well, either way, I think this wraps up this special episode of the Cellcast the Animated Series. So tune in next week.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah, so all right. So tune in next week when we review Thundercats 2011,
AKA the one everyone calls the anime one.
True.
Even though the original technically was anime also.
True.
But at least it wasn't Roar.
We'll eventually get around to watching Roar to our dismay.
I think I am more likely to not want to watch Roar than you are.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we'll get there when we get there.
Exactly. As we'll say in another podcast.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, and catch you next time. Scooby-Dooby-Doo! Son of a...
Come, Jacob. We must prepare for next week.
Prepare for what, Drew?
The same thing we do every week, Jacob. Record a podcast!
Oh, boy!
So where can they find you, Jacob?
They can find me on Facebook at Jacob B. Heron and Jacob's Daily Art Corner, my personal art Facebook page. On Twitter at Jacob B. Heron. On Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. And on Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. Where can they find you, Drew?
You can find me on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. You can also find my Facebook page at Drew's Photo Bin, where I upload my photography. You can also follow me on Letterboxd at GGeorge759 and Twitter at GGeorge759. Where can they find us, Jacob?
You can also visit our website, thecellcast.podbean.com, where you will find every episode we released and links to listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. Our RSS feed, if we aren't in your favorite podcast app directory, please share, review, and subscribe to us there and share us with your friends.
You will also find a link to our Facebook group, the Double Feature Podcast Community, where we talk about both animated and live-action movies. We share this with our other podcasts, which we do with Jacob's brother Jim, at the Movie of the Week podcast, where we talk about live-action movies. You can also email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. Also, please like our page on Facebook. We try to post about upcoming movies. If you comment on that movie's post before we record, we'll read your comments in the episode. And remember, every time we say the Cellcast, that is with a single L.